All right, let's get started. Welcome to Auth Part 3, the stunning conclusion, protecting resources. So this is kind of what we've all been leading up to. How do we restrict what users can do so that only somebody where we know who they are can do certain things? So first, let's review. We learned how to create users. So we install bcrypt. We have the routes and controllers to post a new user. Then we use has secure password to make sure that we're hashing their password on the way in. We have talked about authenticating users. So we created a login, route, and controller in action. We look up the user with their username that they sent us. We authenticate them with .authenticate. Then we create a token with the JWT gem. We sign it and send it. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to verify a token that somebody sends you in Rails, and you should be able to protect a resource with that token. So steps to do this. We actually, fuck that. Let's do this. I want you to do all of these things we've done already. Install bcrypt, create users, all that kind of stuff, and then create your login route, authenticate the user, create a token, all that kind of stuff. Let's see if you can do that yourself. I'm going to put 8 minutes on, and totally new API. What's the noun? What are we building today? Balloons. All right, so this is going to be called Balloon Fight. So Rails new -- API, Balloon Fight, 8 minutes on the clock. Give it your best shot. No code Gary! Native extensions! Rage!
Why is this sometimes slow?
Because of the native extensions part. No-code Gary is like performance sensitive enough that you actually compile it differently for your computer, which is what the native extensions part is, versus like any of these other ones where like it's just JavaScript files. I could send them over to you and you just run them. But this is like, I see you're on a Mac with this version of the operating system with this CPU architecture, and so like they have to customize it for that, which takes a lot fucking longer than just downloading a JavaScript file.
Sometimes it's like really fast.
That's because it's using a cached version.
Keep going.
All right, when you're done, you should have a token on your Postman screen.
Syntax error, those are the easy ones, on line 17. Okay. So, I can see it. It actually starts on line 7, there's something on line 13 that has something to do with it, and you've got else, what are you missing? Got it? Yeah! Rage! You got it? Fuck yeah! How you doing, Adam?
Welcome back to Ruby.
I absolutely was like, wait, how come my notes don't have curly braces? I must have not written it down.
Stacy knows.
Authentication controller, like this whole.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Random question. You said that nobody uses 14,000, but like there's other ports that if you're gonna like actually publish a website?
Yeah, so Heroku assigns them dynamically.
Your users control.
That's like the entire model, is it's one computer that opens up 10,000 different ports. And so when you access that port on that computer, you're getting my website. And when you do this other port, you get your website, but they're all running on the same machine.
Got it. So like when I'm making a note about right now, like I have it set to 3,000 right now and it's fine for now or?
Until you publish it. You try to publish it somewhere, and then you go, whoa, you don't get to pick the port, I get to pick the port.
Yeah.
That's why we did like the process.env.node environment. So like you do that for development. And so it looks at your like .dot file, it's like, oh,
So then you
if this one's real, there is a port, and Heroku will assign that in the node-env thing. It's like, oh, that's a port, so I'll just take that one. Or if it's on your local, it knows like, oh, that's a development, so I'll just take the one that you specified in development. Which is kind of cool for Node. I don't know how you do that in Rails, but I'm sure it's just as easy.
All right, so we're caught up. You got Adam?
Oh.
Did you do the add job thing?
So you have authentications controller. You just, yep, so in addition to that, you also need to change the name of it. And what you got? Method. Where is it? Authentication 9. Secret key base. Secret base.
Secret base.
Your base.
Oh, your base out for long time?
See, that's what's up.
I am old.
Arguments.
I am old.
And old.
And line 10. Yeah, dog, you gotta get that and code your key also.
A comma here and secret key.
Oh. There you go. All right, we got tokens. So now, by the end of this lesson, you should be able to verify tokens and protect resources with that verification that you've done. So first thing that we need to do is check for the presence of a token. If they didn't send us a token, no sense in going much further, right? So we just immediately go like, nope, not allowed. Then, once we know the token is there, We need to decode it. This works exactly the same way that encoding does. We use the same key, same everything. We take in our token, we give it the key, we should be able to decode it and get its hashed contents. Then we hopefully stored something in the token that would help us identify the user. Could have been their user ID, could be their username, something that we can use to look them up. And then, last two parts of this, we're going to abstract out this process because we can inline it for like a particular resource, but then it's harder to reuse. We end up like copy pasting code and stuff. There's a way that we can take this entire authentication process and streamline a little bit. And then we just need to run that process before a protected route. So same thing as yesterday. You're going to watch me. We're going to do it together. You're going to do it on your own. So first, let's make a commit. Git commit, and this will be first two steps. All right, we're good. Nothing up this sleeve, nothing up this sleeve. So we're going to say that anybody can list balloons. Only a logged in user can add balloons. So I'm going to make a Rails G model balloon, and I will Rails G controller balloons. I'm going to go over to my routes, say resources balloons only, and we'll say create and index. Over on our migration for balloons, balloons have a name, t.string name. So we're going to Rails DB migrate. Cool, we got that. And then if we go over to the controller, balloons controller, we want an index route and a create route. So index is going to get all the balloons. And render them. Balloons, plural. All right, so, and then for this one, we'll say that our balloon is balloon create, and it takes in a name, and then sends back the balloon that I got. Easy, nothing special there. This is mod 2 stuff. If I go over here and I post to, well, if I list balloons, cool, I get an empty array, figures. I'm going to make this balloons, balloons. All right, cool. So I've got that index route working. Now for our post route, a balloon named Kyle Coberly. Why not? Cool. So I get it back. And now if I run that get route again, I've got my balloons. Sweet. The goal here is to make it so that we keep index being open to everyone, but we restrict create to logged in users. So step 1 was check for the presence of a token. There's all kinds of different ways we can send the token. We can send it in the body. We could send it in a query string. We can send it all kinds of different ways. The way that I want you to do it is on an authorization header. So if we look at like any website, and I look at the network requests, I've got all this kind of stuff, and then I have these request headers. This is the same place that we put content type application JSON. We do it the exact same way when we're making fetch requests. The one that we're looking for is called authorization. And authorization headers, there's a few different formats you can use for them. For token-based authentication, you use the word bearer, space, and then the token. So let's see. So I want, we'll do this like real slow. The authorization header comes in on, shoot, is it just headers? Let's see, Rails headers. Request.headers, that's it. Request.headers, and that's a hash, and so we want authorization. So that should give us the header. Now, we only want the token, but it's going to have that bearer, space, and then the token. So any guesses how I can do some string manipulation to get out the token? Perfect. So I'll say the token is authorization header dot split, and we're going to split on spaces, and we want the second index. So that should give us a token. And then our goal was to check for the presence of it. So we can probably just do it right here and say if not authorization header then we want to render status unauthorized. Otherwise, keep on partying. Let's see if we can get that far. So I go to, stop it. Post my balloon should get rejected. And it does, 401 unauthorized. Beautiful. So I pull out the token from this, and I want to decode it. So I do that with JWT.decode. And we're going to decode the token, and just like before, we're going to pull out the secret key. Same one, rails.application.secrets.secret key base index 0. No, I'm not. Prove it. So, all right, I've decoded the token. Now that I've decoded the token, I should have access to the user ID. So I need to get the user with that ID. So I can do something like user equals user.find decoded token, and I want user ID out of the token. We're not actually doing anything with the user here, but it's very handy to have a user available if you needed to do whatever. Like, who created this balloon, for example? I say, all right, we've done all those things, and we create a balloon, and then we render it.
Like if a balloon belonged to someone?
Exactly. It might be like, all right, well, who was the person who made the post request? So now I get rejected. I head over to authorization. I'm doing a bearer token. Oops, I need to log in first. So I log in, I take this token. Then I go over to authorization, I do bearer token, and I put it in there. Oops, except I need to do it over here. Cool. So if we go over to headers, check this out. If you look at the temporary headers, authorization, bearer, space, and then the token that you put in. That's all the Postman's doing. Now, I try to make a balloon. Something it didn't like. Come on, man. There we go. Balloons, number 17. Cool. Let's bug it. I'm probably just accessing the decoded token wrong. All right, so if I look at decoded token, it's an array. So I need decoded token 0, and then user ID? Nope, string. There we go. So this is decoded token 0, and then the string user ID. It was something. All right, now, is the bug still on there? Oops, I need to kill the. Creates a balloon. And if I, let's see, well, let me just turn it off. If I take out the token, 4.1 unauthorized. Add the token back in, adds a balloon.
Wow.
So when a user does this in our website,
Mhm.
the token thing is automatic.
So it's not automatic. We need to do it by hand. But when you make your fetch request, the exact same way you added content type application JSON, you just look up your token and then send that as a authorization header.
So you, like the user doesn't do that.
No, you the developer do that.
Yeah.
So the token would be saved into the database like we have here or no?
Nope. The token would get saved in local storage in your app. So local storage, let's go to website. If I go over here in the console, I can do local storage.set item, and I want to set my token, and my token is ASDF. Cool. Now I can do local storage get item, and I pull that back. Now here's the thing that's different about just like regular variables on this though. If I refresh this page, it's still there. Local storage will survive a refresh. This is how you keep users logged in.
So then manually on your app, you need to set the token and then retrieve it.
It comes back, you set it to local storage, you're making requests, you read it out of local storage. So we made a resource, we can list stuff. Anybody can list stuff. If I go over here, no authorization headers, I get my balloons. If I add the authorization headers, it doesn't hate it or anything. Still going back. read out the header, checked to see if it was there, grabbed the token off of it, grabbed my key, decoded the token, looked up a user in case I want to do something with the user on it, did whatever the actual action was, rendered the result. Questions? Yeah, Miss.
So is this the kind of thing you would always have in the create method, or would you make that its own little like?
Entirely dependent on your app's logic. Can anybody create something? Can just some people create stuff? Anybody create stuff, but only some people can delete stuff? That kind of stuff.
Does it look the same, like if you put it into like a delete, you would just put that exact same thing?
Kind of. We're going to do the last steps of this after we get this down, but we're going to show how we can abstract all this out. So like with just a couple words, we can protect a route. But we're basically just going to throw this in a method that we can use.
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
What else?
When you made your balloon model,
Mhm.
was it name and user references, or what did you do?
When I made the balloon model, I didn't do user references. I could have. Probably would have made more sense. No, shit. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. What if I Rails DB rollback and say t dot integer user ID references. What's the references syntax? I always forget.
I thought it was T dot references.
Oh, good call. Yeah, that's part of the data type. And oh, good call. Yeah, I think that is it. Like that?
And then it has something like.
Foreign key, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
Something else, the other thing doesn't matter.
Null
It's like
false.
null false or some shit.
That's to indicate that it's required. Cool. So then we can remigrate that. And now in my balloons controller, I have that user. Awesome. Let's see if it worked. Okay, so it's got name, authorization token, unknown attributes.
We need to do like if it has many belongs to if we're doing.
Oh, good call. So the model for balloon belongs to user. There we go. User ID. Now I know who created the balloon. What else? Cool, let's do it together. So RM, RM app controllers balloons. Actually, I don't care about those. Well. All right, clean slate, nothing up my sleeves. So we're gonna start by making the resource we want to protect. Adam, give me step one.
You wanna make your balloons models and stuff?
Yeah.
So Rails-G, active resources, a resource balloon, or you can just do controller and the model separately.
All right, well, we'll do resource this time. All right, so made lots of stuff. Stacy, give me next step.
So that sets up the routes for you, right?
That's all of them up, but we're not using all of them. So I need to
So
constrain
we'll
this.
only, create or index and create.
Cool. What next, Stacy?
Go to your, do you need to migrate?
Yeah, probably. Well, I didn't put anything in my migration yet. So I've got this in my migration.
Do that. Oh, so name t dot string.
Mm-hmm.
I never do this by myself. That string name, and then t dot, what else we did? References, and all that other stuff, foreign key, true.
Cool. Let's see, Mez, what's next?
We need to create some routes in the controller.
We keep routes here. What do we create in a controller? More specifically, what kind of method? Starts with an A. Action.
Yeah. Yes.
Cool. Which ones am I making?
You're making index and fields. So index is the user one.
Mm-hmm.
So balloons equals balloon.all.
Mm-hmm.
And then our JSON balloons. Oh, yeah.
All right. And then Samantha, what am I doing in the create method?
So in the create, what you're, going to do is, do we just wanna start off with just plain anyone can create, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So then we wanna do balloons equals balloon, dot create. And then provide the username, the brand, or not the username, the name, and with the brand, as well as the user ID. Well, you wouldn't have the user ID in this case, would you?
Okay.
So we'll leave that off. And then, show the balloon.
Easy. Let's see if it works. So can I make a new balloon? Nope. Oop, migrations are pending. How do I solve that?
Migrate.
Oops, something I didn't like. Oh, hang on. Rails DB rollback. The database is shit. I knew this was gonna happen. Fuck. Hang on. Oh man. This. Let's see if I do it that way. So the problem is that your database exists completely separate from your application.
So when you stash.
So when I killed all that stuff off, it's like, whoa, whoa, this is what I was expecting. So I can probably just kill off the schema and I'll probably be all right. Yeah. Nope. Migrate. Maybe. Rails DB's drop. Yeah, let's try that.
I think you have to create it. Oh, no.
All right, we're in business. Oops, except I did the wrong fucking one. No, that's fine. All right. So now, if I try to create one of these, all right, we're creating boons. Toby, get us into Authland. What do we need to do?
Offland. So we need to check and see if they have a token.
Cool. So tell me what to type.
So we are going to do the authorization headers equals the request dot headers 0. Oh, authorization. Yeah, and then we check for we're gonna split the string and get the second index because it's bared.
Yep.
Okay.
So say token is
Authorization header split by space 0 or 1. Cool.
okay. And then
We'll take the token and we want to we want to decode.
now remember, token comes back as an array.
Right.
We're only expecting one token though, so what's another thing we could do on this to make sure that we have that?
That comes back to an array, so we want to select it.
Just get the first thing out of it. Okay, very nice. Adam, what am I doing next?
Just where you do your if statement.
Yeah, we can probably do it up here actually. So what am I ifing?
If authorization, if not authorization header,
Okay.
render status unauthorized. And then else, token, yeah, all that stuff.
Okay, so we start ripping out the token. What else?
If all that is true, create your balloon.
Okay.
I guess now go to Postman and see.
I also want to find out who created the balloons. So Stacy, how am I going to do that?
We use secret key.
Yeah, I also haven't decoded the token yet. It's all base 64 fuckified.
Yeah, so secret key equals all that shit that scribbled.
Rails application secrets
Secret key base 0.
secret key base 0.
And decode that. Decoded token equals JWT code. The token and secret keys. And then you need to do.
Okay. Oops, I think that's actually, that's the thing that gets the 0, it's decoding it. All right, there's sanity in the world. All right, I've decoded the token. Mez, how do I get who created this balloon?
User.
Yeah.
User.find, decoded token, 0, index 0.
Already did that.
Oh, so you don't have to do it there anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Cool, then it's just, user.
As a string. Okay, very nice. I have the user. Samantha, what am I doing with it?
So underneath name, you're gonna send the user ID, or user just.
Mm-hmm. What was the other thing I need to do to make this work, though?
Oh, yeah, belongs.
Cool. Neat. See if it works.
Question.
Yeah.
Do you need to check, or is Decode checking if that's a valid jot? for like,
It's checking the signature.
yeah.
If the signature isn't valid, it'll reject it. It's not checking expiration or anything like that, I don't think.
Okay.
Cool, so I got unauthorized. Now if I log in, oops, why is that unauthorized? That shouldn't be.
Is it because when you drop to your database, you no longer have users?
Oh yeah, I don't have any users. That'll do it. So all right. Make a user. Oh, that's my password digest. Kyle and Kyle. All right, I log in. I got a token. So I grab this token over here, and I try to make the Kyle Corbally balloon. Darcy blows. Our resource is safe. So the good job, team. All right, so let's talk about how we could how we can abstract this out. May not have done this yet. What is this saying? Like, how would we read this in human words?
Authentication controller is inherits application controller.
Correct. There is an application controller that this inherits from. What does inheriting mean?
It takes the action or the methods from that.
Gets all of its methods, all of its state too. Interesting. So if I look at that application controller, nothing in it. All right. I sort of wonder if maybe I could take all of these things that I'm doing that don't really have anything to do with like my app or this particular controller, and maybe call this authenticate. Okay. So now application controller has a method called authenticate, reads in this shit, does this. I wonder if for this, if I do @user instead of user, that saves it to the actual instance. Wow, what else in here? It'll handle the rejection for me. Okay. Now, back in Balloon Land, that becomes maybe @user instead. And kind of forget the syntax for this, but I believe it's before action. Rails before action. We could say before action authenticate, and I believe there's an only for this too. Yeah. Or I could do skip, which is the opposite of that. I could say skip index. All right, let's see what works. I'm as curious as you are. So I take my token out. I try to make a balloon. Internal service error. What I didn't like. Balloons controller.
Didn't take out an end.
Yep, that is accurate. All right. Unauthorized. Sick. It's protected. Can I still see him? I can still see him just fine. All right. Now if I go back over here and add my token, holy shit, it let me do it. So if I also wanted to protect delete, if I also wanted to protect whatever, before action authenticate. And hey, since everything inherits from application controller, everything has that available now. We have abstracted out the process that was putting it in the application controller, and then we're running it before our protected routes. Ta fucking da.
So then, if we were to like do this in our app, would we have like, I guess, at the top, a button that says like sign in, and you click on the button, it drops down, like type in your username, password, whatever, and figure out that's a form, I
Mhm.
guess then, and then that form is what compares it to your hash.
Now that form is sending the post request to login. Rails is doing all the things we've been talking about the last 3 days, and either sends it back an error or rejection, or sends it back a token.
So then, once that happens, we could make it so then if or I guess my question is there a way to differentiate between a common user and like an administration user? So where like me as the administrator, I can go through and delete stuff,
Mhm.
but if I only want users to be able to delete like certain things.
Authorization and authentication. All we've been talking about the last 2 days is authentication.
What you would do with authorization is like, cool, I looked up the user. What role do they have? And maybe their role is student or admin or something like that. And now, before particular actions, you make sure that whoever @user is has permissions to do whatever the fuck you're doing. There's libraries that will help you with that. If it's really simple stuff, then like maybe you put an isAdmin flag like in the database for somebody, and you just check that before you do an action. But for more complicated stuff, Devise is the Rails library that kind of handles that, where you can handle more complex permissions levels. Add a scope for this, but that's how you handle that.
You recorded all of these, right?
Yes.
Thank God.
Cool. Abstracting out the process, running before protected routes. So our application controller now has this authenticate method. Any controller that inherits from this can see all this. @user makes the user that we found visible, so anything that you run authentication before also has an @user available now. Pretty fucking cool.
What's the before
Mhm.
action?
So this is before any action in this controller, run this method, but actually only do it on create.
Just wanted to make sure I had it written down.
And then that authenticate method's from our application controller.
Correct.
right?
It's reading it from application controller because since it inherited from it, it's just like we copy and pasted that authentication method in here.
Go to your application controller. Could you go to your authentication controller, please?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I think I accidentally put my stuff in the wrong controller. Yep.
Questions? All right, your turn. So stash that shit. Drop your database if you need to. These are the steps.
Can we just start from scratch?
You can go back to your commit. So if I look at my git log, I see this commit. So if you haven't done this before, get ready to have your mind blown. All right, so B655. B655, that was our beginning. So I do git checkout. God, I already fucking forgot it. It's a problem with hashes. B655. Git checkout B655. Oh fuck. Now I'm at that place. I went to that save point.
Okay, so Rails, or no, git stash. No, first we have to.
Yeah, you probably want to get stash first.
What if we didn't have any commits? I forgot.
Then you're screwed.
Oh, I don't
Fuck.
either. I don't either.
Yeah, I'm not the only one.
Wait, what?
You
I
can just-
tried to, but I was getting an error before, so I
It
just
would
kept
be
going.
a nightmare. Goddamn it.
I'm just gonna start over. Fuck that.
Alright.
I need practice with all this.
That's what I'm saying.
Same.
Get it under your fingers.
Make a whole
Balloon
new-
fight 2.
Alright.
Yeah, boy.
Electric Boogaloo. Alright, give it a go.
A couple minutes longer.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Restarting. Seems
Well, shoot, in that case, I don't want to be left out. I'll do it too.
You probably don't need to practice either.
Everybody needs to practice. I've been playing guitar for 25 years. Still start with.
Oh my god, it's gonna be ridiculous.
Glorious! Glorious! Rails.
I think that's gonna be this weekend when project mode's done. If I can't find the way to implement auth into my project, I'm just gonna build for the shit out of auth.
Let's go!
Okay, where's the I'm really excited.
You would've did it anyway.
That's probably why she left.
This is a solemn fucking occasion.
This is the best one ever.
Remind me why it's important to restrict our routes, because I never actually do that. I always just
So why you would want to like do any of this?
Just restricting the routes to only like resources users only.
Oh, sure. So if I try to delete a user right now, it'll break the app. It'll crash and it'll go like, whoa. No method called destroy. Don't know how to handle this. What I actually wanted to do is 404 because that doesn't exist. And so when you restrict it, you're saying like, please don't break my app if somebody tries to do a method that I haven't implemented. Just tell them that it doesn't exist. Where's Coberly?
is yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then say that on the instance, so you can actually see it in those other ones. Yeah. Pull that up.
I don't know how to do this postman shit.
Oh, you copy that with authentication,
In here,
authorization, whatever.
In
And then
login.
you can go to that. And go here. Preview request. Boom. Release, boom. And release.
Yeah, you now get your temporary headers.
And then, that's it.
Yep.
I just wanna make sure it's there.
Yes. So, yeah, as soon as you put that in authorization, you are now hitting authenticator requests.
Wait, so that means all this worked?
Well, so
If
let's
I
see.
did that, do I
Try
have
to
to do
create
something
something.
else?
So, yeah, and I'm trying to like post, make a new balloon.
Oh, I never made any ones. Balloons.
Balloons.
Alright, so. One.
Nope.
Oh, no.
The user gets from your token. Yeah, we gotta go.
Yeah, I definitely need to do a lot of.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Nope.
This is where it gets. My site is beautiful.
How you doing, Adam?
Okay, so if I make a balloon, then what do I do? Then I
Once you
check this.
create it, but now go, from your login. And then create a login authorization,
Should have done this separately, I did it all together.
Oh, I probably said this is all recorded, so.
Wait, so then I get my token. Wait, so after I make the balloon, then what do? What am I checking here?
You're checking that you can make a balloon if you give it the token, and if you take the token out, you can't make a balloon. You go back over here to your authorization, and just, cut that, and then try to do it again. Yeah. Yeah, it should just,
As long as you know that, so.
Authorized.
Oh,
you have,
that's the whole point.
you have successfully
Authorized some shit.
protected a resource with tokens.
I see. Yay. Yeah. Which control?
Is it that one?
Balloons? No.
No.
Balloons control. You're in balloons. I took all that out.
You feeling okay with the auth stuff?
Yeah, I got it up and running.
Abstract
Good.
it out, so I took
How you doing,
all
Toby?
of it.
Going back to notes, I missed a couple things.
That's fine. All right, so while you're doing that, any lingering questions about token-based authentication? That's kind of it. There's other kinds of authentication. We talked about session-based, and third-party token-based authentication, like OAuth, login with Google, that kind of thing. Those are a little bit different, but they use a lot of these same principles. Like the password hashing and that kind of shit, that's identical in like all of this. Yeah, Stacy.
So on a real website, like what kind of error would you want the person to see for something like this? Like,
So the unauthorized, like we're doing it right now, that's enough because any like client-side tool that's making that request will be able to recognize that the request was not successful and then be able to handle that as an error. And so then you'd probably want to say something like, you probably offer like a generic message like that action's not available at this time or something like that. Because you want your UI to be such that the UI won't let a user create balloons if they're not logged in. And so if they are sending that request anyway, they're fucking with you or you wrote your code wrong. And so you don't need to give them like an in-depth explanation. You don't need to help somebody attack your thing. So just a 401 is fine, and on the client side, network error, something like that. Yeah.
Do you have any good resources for looking up like the other
Yeah.
authentication ones?
My favorite one for social auth, Web App Kitchen Sink. The guy who made it's a handsome genius. If you go over to social auth, this is like annotated code in Node for all of the things that you would need to do to set up Facebook login. And you should recognize a lot of these things. Node uses a library called Passport pretty often for this kind of thing, and it's neat because what it does is Passport is one big container that you can implement different strategies with, but they all end up doing fundamentally the same thing. They add a .user to every request if it authenticates correctly, or rejects it in all like kind of the same way. You can implement a Facebook strategy and a Google strategy and a local strategy and all these things, and they all get used in your application the exact same way. Whoa, what do you know? Making JWTs in Node. You require in the JWT library, and then you call these signs, the same as the encode method. And you pass in an object, and you pass in a secret. Weird. Awesome. What else do you want to know about auth? Oh, and for session-based auth, there's actually pretty good Learn Labs on that.
so is auth something that you want us to have in like our auth 4 projects?
You can do it whenever. It's only required in your capstone. Capstone needs to have some kind of auth in it.